Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I hope everybody's doing well. I hope you're having a good day. Welcome to Money in the Morning. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins. And in case you don't know, in case you're new, Money in the Morning is where we get together and we do our financial fitness. We are very serious about our economics, serious about putting food in the mouths of our kids, very serious about our legacy, very serious about being on the cutting edge when it comes to wealth and power. And also, we understand that money is power. And so I want you to be as powerful as possible. So I hope everybody's having a good Monday. I'm having a great Monday. It's a strange Monday though. It's very strange because my wife and I tried to fly back home last night, and it was just a mess. It was an absolute mess. So literally, we have to stay 2 extra days before we can go home because the airlines are tripping and this whole shutdown's been a mess. But it looks to me like they might be ending this thing pretty soon. I'm not sure. I will tell you this. I don't know what your situation is with all this and how you feel about it, but I can tell you this that if you're an investor in the stock market, which I know most of you are, you should probably expect. I would be shocked if there wasn't some sort of little bump in your portfolio as a result of the shutdown coming to an end, right? So that's a good thing. That's money, right? It doesn't fix everything, but it does at least clear up, some of it. At least it gives you one thing to be happy about, one thing to help ease some of the discomfort. Because I know some of you, maybe you work for the government or you're dealing with government contracts, stuff like that. And this isn't to be taken lightly. Like this is not a game, and people are being affected by this. And it also feeds into why I'm very cynical about politicians. I just kind of think these SOBs, they don't care about anybody but themselves. And I wish they had designed laws to incentivize them to do the right thing. Like, I think it would be just easy to just say, look, as long as the government shut down, none of y'all will get paid. Not one of you will get your paycheck, right? And also, you cannot give yourself a raise, right? It's kind of it's a rigged system, right? And the rigging is something that I've been very clear with you guys on. And the thing is that my goal, my job is to hopefully put you in a position where you can rig everything in your favor, because not everybody in America gets screwed. Not everybody gets left behind. Those who understand economics and wealth get ahead. Those who understand where to position themselves do better than those who do not. And so this is the goal. The goal is not to necessarily change the whole world, because I don't know how to do that. All I know how to do is change the world that I have some influence on, and that's just where I stand on that. All right. So what I want to do is start off. I'm going to share something with you all. I thought it's kind of fun because since I'm a little goofy. Sometimes I have to show my goofy side to show that I'm not like all serious all the time. Sometimes people think I'm like this big like Malcolm X kind of person, and I am. I admire Malcolm X, but I'm not him. You can. There's only one Malcolm X. But, I've heard people say, you're the financial Malcolm X. And I'm like, yeah, I am. I got the angry black man in me for sure. Or there's a part of me like that. But at the same time, I can't be him, but because I'm goofy sometimes. So let me show you all this. I made this video. I like to make these little videos, and this is Dr. Boyce against the racial wealth gap. So let me know if you can hear it. I'm gonna play it right now. It's just because we just having fun. Actually, I'm not gonna. You know what? I shouldn't play it because it's actually playing music that's copyrighted, and that's gonna give me a problem. So anyway, that's me. And I'm wearing Black Wealth Champion because it's AI, so it's misspelled, but still, that's my belt. And this is how I view the racial wealth gap. So what this does is this tells you what's going on inside the mind of Boyce Watkins. How does he view our battle, when it comes to this wealth thing? I ain't scared of nothing. I ain't scared of nobody because we got this, man. We got this. I don't care if you white, Asian, Jewish, Arab. I know more than all of y'all, and I believe my people are gonna win. Can I get an amen in the chat? Can you tell me if you agree? So this is what I did. I was like, I told my wife, I said, I think about WWE and you're body slamming the racial wealth gap. So here's what I made. This is oh wait, sorry, look, there we go. So that's me just slam like to help the generational curses, to hell with all this nonsense about black people being left behind. I don't believe white men are superior to us. I don't believe that anybody is supposed to beat us. I just don't. I believe that we're supposed to win, and I don't buy into deficit thinking. I have no interest and sitting around and talking about how we too stupid to control our communities, to educate our kids, to build our wealth, to prepare our future, and to win for our people. I just think that's just my mindset. So at the end of the day, if you ever want to know what goes through my brain, it's like stuff like this, right? Just it's just a goofy way to describe it. But then I did the other one where I was riding a dragon on Black Wall Street. I don't know if y'all saw that one yesterday, but this is me. I'm right. So I was like, yeah, if I was on Black Wall Street, I would get my dragon. I would have blew all them suckers. I'm just kidding. The black, actually, most people don't know that the black men in Black Wall Street did fight back. They came back from World War One. These men were soldiers. They weren't no punks. They didn't just sit around and say, "Oh Lord, Lord, Lordy G, Lord, beat Jesus, they gonna come get us." They pulled out them guns and they defended what was there. So don't ever let anybody make you think that your black men are punks. No, we got some punks among us for sure. You got some men out here that's scared of their own shadow. We're working with them. You know, God ain't through with them yet. But there's a lot of black men out here that are really fighting, a lot of black women that are fighting. And I just think that that warrior spirit has to come out when you're talking about doing this thing, right? It's not even a battle of black versus white. It's not really even us against them. It's really you versus you. It's me versus me. It's us versus us. Meaning, every morning when you get up, there's a battle. I had a battle this morning. My battle was I'm laying in the bed and I'm laying next to the most beautiful woman in the world, and she's soft and she's sexy and delicious to lay next to. And I just want to roll over and just stay warm and go back to sleep. And I had to battle. I had to really fight myself and talk myself into rolling out of bed. It's literally the little battles that make all the difference. And it was hard. I got up a little bit late. I had to forgive myself because I wasn't in the 5 a.m. club this morning. But it's all right. I got up. I said, okay, let's get our mind right. Remember, Black Excellence is a subscription that you must renew every single day. That's what it is. Every single day, you must decide, how excellent am I going to be today? Am I going to be a winner today? Am I going to be a champion today? Am I going to do my best today? Am I going to stick to the plan today? Just think about today. Don't worry about yesterday. Yesterday is irrelevant. Don't think about tomorrow. Tomorrow don't even exist yet. Think about today. So that's my 2 cents. All right. So anyway, moving on. All right. So one thing I wanted to share with you is an assessment on there's a stock. Some one of you asked me, maybe every now and then I'll just do like a breakdown of a stock and let you know a stock that I'm buying. And I created this program called the Dr. Boyce Stock Analyzer. And it's something I made for the students that are in the stock market investing program. And it did a breakdown on Peloton stock for me. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of go through this. One of you had asked about Peloton. So let me share my screen. And let me just say this, the short answer is that Peloton's not a good investment, but here's information on Peloton, right? So the stock has it used to be super high and then it just really dropped a lot. Now it's at 766, and some people think that it might be a good buy. So the stock analyzer, if you just put in the name of the stock, it kind of gives you a company overview. It tells you the financial health of the company. 40 is not good. 100 is the highest. 40 is very, very low. The recommendation here is to sell, and I trained it on some of my approaches to stock market investing. So if you know the drboycemethod.com, I have an 11-step process I use to determine if I want to buy a certain stock or not. And so here, in terms of building legacy, this is not a great stock to purchase when it comes to long-term investing. And the negatives outweigh the positives, right? So there's lots of information here about ratios. And the strength is that they have a strong brand recognition, innovative technology, and a really big subscriber base. But the problem is that the profit margins are negative. Their revenues dropping year over year, and there's a lot of competition in their industry. So if for whoever asked me about Peloton, the answer is no. I would not invest in Peloton. If you want to know a stock that I like right now, I really like Microsoft. Microsoft is a healthy company. They're going to make money in terms of AI. If you're looking at it in terms of long-term investing, I would encourage you to just add stocks like that to the portfolio. A lot of young people they take too many risks because they're used to the market only going up. And if you understand the market the way I do, you would know also you got to prepare for things to get bad. Right now, things are better today, but as you saw last week, it got ugly. It could get much uglier. So just be really careful. So if you want to know a stock I like, it will be a Microsoft. And if you want to go into the stock market analyzer and break down any other stock that you're interested in buying and thinking about adding to your portfolio, this is free to all the students in the Black Stock Market Program. So here's a code if you want to join. The annual fee or the monthly is $89 a month. The annual fee is $9.99. So you save some money if you go annual. But for you guys in this room, if you want to click on that link, it'll take 70% off the annual fee and drop it from $9.99 to $2.99. And so I'm offering that today, and that's it for today for those who are here in class. So there's the link right there if you want to join at $2.99 per year. And we meet every Tuesday. You can ask me questions in class, and you can also go into the analyzer anytime you want, and it'll give kind of a breakdown of every stock that you're interested in and whether or not that's a good investment. So feel free to do that. If you want to know what else is available in the program, you can go to drboycestockmarket.com. That's drboycestockmarket.com. The link should be in the chat. Let me know if you don't see the link. All right, so moving on. One thing I wanted to talk about today was I saw this study that basically said African Americans are behind when it comes to economics, that African Americans are, and do Prime members have access? Yes. If you're in Prime, then you have access. If you're in the stock market program, you have access. And so you can either go through the stock market program or you can become a Prime member at drboyceprime.com, which is stock options and everything else in between. So it's up to you. It's up to you. All right. And you can share it with your whole family, like your whole family can join with you. All right. So and you don't have to pay more than once. I just want to say that. All right. So here, this is something that was interesting. So I saw this headline that basically said, let me see if I can find. I don't have the screenshot image of it, but it basically was saying that African Americans are behind as it pertains to wealth and economics. That which it was surprise, surprise, right? Everybody knows that, but they were also breaking it down in terms of specifically discussing where we were behind and why. And I think that I thought that was really interesting. I put it on my Instagram, Dr. Boyce Finance. That's my Instagram. So let me share this with you. And here is the headline I was referring to. So this is right here. New report claims Black Americans lag in investing knowledge. Critics say the system keeps us financially blind. Okay. All right. So I shared that. And so I thought I would do more of a deep dive on that report so you can understand what the issues are and overcome those issues because these are solvable problems. These are problems that can be solved. These are problems that should be solved. And these are problems that have to be solved by you, right? Do you understand? Like, let me know if you can agree with me that we're gonna have to solve our problem. Um, if you're not solving the problem in your own life, then who are you waiting for? I mean, really, who are you? Are you waiting for Donald Trump to solve your problem? You really think this billionaire from New York is going to come solve your financial problem for the black community? You waiting on Gavin Newsom to solve your problem? Gavin Newsom, no, no, he's a nice guy, it seems, but I've never really seen him truly address the fundamental problems that exist in the black community. There's a lot of poor black people in California, right? So, who do you think is going to solve the problem? So I break that down because I just want you to know these things can be fixed. But what has to happen is you have to get off of the path, right? You have to have the courage to say, okay, I'm not doing what they're telling me to do. I'm going to do what I need to tell me to do. And that requires me to help instill the confidence in you to know that you can do this. So here is some key evidence behind this report. So a study by TIAA, the TIAA Institute, Global Financial Literacy Excellence Center, using the PFIN index found that Black adults on average answered only 38% of their personal finance questions correctly. For whites, the average was 55%. So what that one thing that does say is that there is a fundamental differential in terms of personal finance understanding and capability. Okay. And so for those that want to understand basic personal finance, I did put together something called Black Wealth 101 in the Dr. Boyce Academy. There's a link. It's a discount link if you want to take a look at that. So that, so that's a resource you have available if you want to use it. But generally speaking, what they're saying is that financial literacy tends to be lower for blacks versus whites. Also, a report by the Financial Health Network titled Closing the Racial Wealth Gap with Financial Asset Ownership notes that Black households are about 3 times less likely than white households to participate in the stock market. So they're saying something that I mentioned to you this week, that stock market participation is the number one wealth driver in the history of the world. They didn't say it that way, but I'm saying it to you now because this is what I wrote my dissertation on. And so in this room, you all remember in what our stock market participation rate is in this room. Does anybody remember when we took the survey? Put the number in the chat. What's our number? Their number, the number for according to Jamal Bryant, the number for Black Americans is 13%. I think it's higher than that, but our number in here is 91%. So there's nothing about being Black that says you have to be broke. The word Black is not spelled the same as the word broke. Black and broke are not the same. There's no whites only sign on the stock market. What blocks you from participating typically are habits and culture. Most of the people outside this room who don't invest in the stock market, who are not participating, they're just not doing it. They're not stupid people. They're not, their brains work just as well as ours do. The difference is that they're distracted by cultural elements that keep their focus on things other than focusing on the money. They miss the money because if you're not thinking about the money, then you'll never have the money. If you're not looking for the money, then the money will typically not find you. Money doesn't travel to Black neighborhoods very often as much as it should. It doesn't look for it. It doesn't say, hey, where's the hood at? I'm gonna go to the hood and make sure I sprinkle myself on top of the people that live there. It doesn't do that. So in order for you to have access to wealth, you have to have a consciousness that says, okay, the wealth isn't here, but I'm gonna go somewhere else to go get it. But then you got to even know where to go, right? So there's two levels to that, right? One, I got to decide I want to even leave my space, which right there that eliminates a lot of people. There are a lot of people who won't even leave their neighborhood, won't leave their community, won't leave where they were born, how they were raised, and that to some extent that's not a terrible thing, right? You should remain rooted and connected, but that lack of exposure keeps them from going in places where it might be easier to get money. And then the second tier of that is knowing where to go. And then there's the third tier of actually going, right? So there's literally 3 steps, 3 barriers, psychological. This is all psychological. This is why we created the Black Financial Therapy Department, because most of the wealth gap is psychological, right? So they have to consciously decide they're going to leave. They have to know where to go, and then they actually have to do it, right? And those are and most people just don't have that level of discipline because studies show that 70% of all people follow the crowd, even if they know the crowd is wrong. So the reality, as much as we want to hope that one day magically everybody in the Black community is going to figure it out and we're all going to elevate, there's a good chance that may not be the case for quite a while. Now, what could change that? Maybe one day, if I somehow become a billionaire and I can influence the entire community by writing massive checks and or whatever, then or someone like me, it may not even be me, maybe I'm somebody else, then maybe that might do it, right? Because people tend to they tend to be moved around by people that have capital. The capitalists have a lot of power. They get to shape people's lives. Like right now, you saw that in Capitol Hill, the billionaires are controlling the politicians who are affecting the lives of millions of people. So if they suddenly pop up and say, hey, your SNAP benefits are going to be delivered on this corner, then all those people will go to that corner. Or we'll give you more jobs in the government if you do this, this, and this. Well, then people will start doing the things that are necessary to get that job, right? Just like and so economics provides incentives. Sometimes it's used for control. Economic warfare is a very real thing. Economic warfare is regularly declared against the Black community in particular. Most of us are heavily controlled by the money, especially when you are stuck in the mud of economic desperation. When you are economically desperate, then somebody that has money can come along like a magician and say, they say jump. You're like, how high? How high I gotta jump, boss? Right? So so a lot of times what you think is just merely racial oppression, it's not just racial oppression, it's really economic oppression, but economic oppression has a racial element to it. Why? Not necessarily always due to causation, but correlation. Correlation, what is that? Let me explain, don't get confused. Correlation means that two things tend to be connected, right? They don't cause each other to happen, but they're connected. So in America, you have a country where for 400 years, white folks took all the money. We know this. They stole from us. They used us. They all these things are true, right? And so now there's a huge disparity. So their money's here, your money's here. So this ends up allowing this group to have a tremendous amount of power over this group. So even so what happens is that the insidious racism that led to the disparity in the first place, it lingers. It lingers like a really nasty fart in the room, like after the person has left, right? It just lingers in the sense that the people today that inherited all this wealth have a tremendous amount of power and control over the people that did not inherit the wealth. So what they end up doing is they'll use their wealth to manipulate you in certain ways. And you say, you did that to me because I'm black. And here's the crazy part is that person may not have a racist bone in their body. They may say, look, I didn't do this to you because you're black. I did it to you because, because you're different or because I believe everybody should go to church and you don't go to church. And I don't like people who don't go to church. Or I did it because you're liberal and I'm conservative and I don't like liberals, right? It could be all these things, right? And the reason but the thing is, it feels like racism because it partially is. But what I think that we're doing is we're not connecting it to the original source. We're sort of saying you're racist and you're doing this out because you're racist. And I think that puts you in a trap because the person may say, look, I hate all the liberals or I hate all the people that don't go to church, white or black. It has nothing to do with race, but race had everything to do with the fact that you had so much economic power because you belong to a group that inherited all the resources. So that means that your culture gets to dominate my culture. And if you look inside of America in terms of economic opportunities, most economic opportunities go to people that live in the same social circles. And people tend to give opportunities to people that they can relate to. So if I'm the white guy who's running the corporation and I see another young white guy with blonde hair and blue eyes, I'm going to relate to him more than I relate to this black kid that's coming out of the south side of Chicago, right? So I'm going to give opportunities to people that are similar to me, and you're going to say, "Oh, it's because you're being racist." And he's like, "I'm not being racist. I just like this guy," right? Because human beings tend to like people that are similar to them. So ultimately, the race is very real. It really is a heavy factor. But I think that sometimes we oversimplify things. And then the other thing too, the reason I think you have to be really careful in terms of how you talk about race is my question then becomes like, are you discussing it because you're trying to understand the problems that you're about to solve, or are you talking about it in a way that excuses you from having to solve the problem? Is your mention of race a rallying cry for more effort, or is it a crutch that you use to dismiss yourself from the struggle that lies in front of you? Like, what are you using it for? It's like in hip hop, D1, my favorite rapper, my homeboy, he says, look, it's okay to talk about violence in your music, but there's a difference between documenting your experiences versus glorifying violence. If you're glorifying it, that's not cool. But if you're talking about what you went through and explaining that this is bad now, that this is not something I used to be a drug dealer and now I'm a father and a husband or whatever, then that's okay. But if you say I'm a drug dealer and being a drug dealer is good, then that's not cool. Right? So how do you use the obvious disparity of race in a way that works to your advantage? Like it's like literally being in a race and I'm behind the other person and I can say, man, I'm way behind. Some people will say, wow, I'm way behind. I gotta run faster. I can still win if I pick it up. Some people will say, I'm so far behind, I might as well quit. So which type of person are you? Because I don't believe that quitting is the method that's going to work. And I think that we're encouraged to quit. I really think that. I really think that we're encouraged to say, gosh dang it, they have everything. They got all the money, they got all the resources. I might as well not even save. What's the point? I shouldn't invest because I'm black. I'm just a Negro. What Negroes don't have any money. We can't invest. I don't know how to invest. It reminds me when I used to teach math at Kentucky, and I remember I would have students that would say, I'm really bad at math. And they would just say it over and over like it was a mantra. And I would be like, why are you saying that? Why do you say that I'm bad at math as if that's not something that you can change? That is not a permanent part of who you are. Like, what makes you think that you talk about that? That's like you saying, I have a left leg. Yeah, I have a left leg, and hopefully I'll have it for the rest of my life. Or I'm 5'8". I wish I was 6'3", but I'm 5'8". I'm gonna probably be 5'8" forever unless I look out and grow, which probably won't happen. That can be a permanent thing. I'm black. I'm whatever, right? But when you say I'm bad at math and you say it in a way where you don't communicate that you can actually change that, that's a concern because what you're doing is you're taking something temporary and you're making it permanent. So being black, yes, there are some unique challenges, but there are also some unique opportunities. So one thing that they're mentioning here is that stock market participation is the number one driver of wealth in America and beyond. And so everybody in here, I really need you to take a moment and go ahead and start buying some stock. I just told you another stock I like, Microsoft. I like Google. We have the stock market program. Thousands of you are study stocks with us every single Tuesday. drboystockmarket.com. I put the link in there if you guys want to join at a discount, right? So there's lots of different ways you can really get good at this stuff. You don't have to sit on the sidelines and be afraid. All right. What else? There's an article that summarizes the gap. It says Black Americans are saving and investing more, but they still face hurdles in knowledge, access to financial services, and investing tools. Now, that's true. So what's been happening is not, is it Gen, I guess the millennials and then millennials and Gen Z is more connected to investing than you know than Gen X was, Gen X and boomers, right? So Gen Z and millennials are really jumping into investing. The mistakes that's being made though now is that investing is overlapping too much with gambling, and people are taking these massive risks financially, which doesn't really sort of constitute stable investing, and that becomes a little bit of an issue. And then also not understanding what can go wrong or pouring your money into things that that are not liquid or where you could lose your money and not being okay with that. So ultimately, and I don't have a link to share, so I'm sorry, Tiffany. I wish I could put a link in here. I don't have a link to share. I'm just reading off my phone. But basically, that was something I learned a lot about when we saw the tragedy of the Tulsa real estate fund. That made me sad because I was rooting for them. I didn't know everything that was happening in their organization, but I rooted for them because I said, "Oh, this is epic. This is great. I think this is going to be fun." I put money into it. I lost every penny that I put in. I put in $10,000. I lost it all. And when I looked back and did the autopsy in my head, I realized there were some errors. There were some things that happened that I probably should have noticed in terms of uh, all sides, right? Mismanagement of the fund for sure, but then also people investing like really that wasn't a place to put your last $500. You should never invest money that you're not prepared to lose. And so in a way, it was a lost opportunity. But the thing about investing, the thing about wealth, though, is that if you look at most wealth builders in America, they have these tragedies. They have these scenarios where things go wrong. In the Bernie Madoff situation, there was, I think, $60 billion or something that was lost, and then you just keep going. You move to the next thing. That's it. It's on to the next project, right? And you learn and you try again. And this time you try with additional knowledge and you move forward. Some people can't move forward. It's like dating, right? Some people get dumped one time and they never go on a date again for the rest of their life, whereas some people heal and then they're not talking about their ex-boyfriend from 6 years ago. If it's 2025, you shouldn't be talking about somebody you dated in 2012 or whatever, right? So really, I would encourage you to just understand that. And Chanel, I agree with your point. A lot of billionaires, actually, if you look at the track records of most of these billionaires and oligarchs and people that have all the money, a lot of them have declared bankruptcy a lot of times. A lot of them have had failed companies a lot. Twitter was a failed company that where they figured out that people like tweets. They just pivoted toward the tweets because that was the only thing people liked about their app. It was supposed to be this everything app, but they said, oh, people only like the tweets. So the ability to kind of have that resilience and say, okay, wow, I learned a lesson from that experience. And then seeing it as an addition to your knowledge base and your experience base, something that hardens you and makes you a little tougher. That's a different approach from saying, I invested, it went really bad. That's why I don't invest anymore. In fact, if you ever want to really get left behind in America, don't invest. If you don't invest, you will be left behind. There's no, I mean, there's no other pathway that I can think of. to be financially successful because inflation is already embedded into the economy. So that means that your dollars are declining in value every year. Your wages are staying pretty flat. They're not going up the way they should. So the cost of everything keeps going up. So just to keep up with costs, investing is required to do that. Now the email address, let me give you the email address for the Black Business School. I see some of you are asking for that. It's support at theblackbusinessschool.com. That's support at theblackbusinessschool.com. And there's that link to Black Wealth 101 for those of you that were asking about it before. I'll put that back in here again, so you can grab that link if you want to. And then if you want the link for the stock market class, I can give you that as well. And that's what the stock market analyzer is. But don't forget, if you're already a member, or if you're a member of Prime, you don't have to sign up for anything. All right. So let me go back in and okay. So here's the other thing too. When you're talking about building wealth and understanding where the money's located, one thing that they say here in this report is that the barriers to investment are typically knowledge and participation. So the main reasons cited are historical and structural barriers, generational wealth gaps, discriminatory housing and lending practices, and less inherited investing culture. All these things are true. Historical barriers are massive in this. Generational wealth gaps. One thing about generational wealth that's interesting is that you got to remember 70% of all 70% of all wealthy people lose all their wealth in one generation. That's white, black, or otherwise. So what happens is that because wealth is a competitive sport, people that are more prepared end up and more financially conscious end up extracting wealth from people who are less conscious. I talked to a lawyer who does estate planning, and one thing she said is she said, you know, we make millions of dollars a year, literally from families that did not plan their estate. She said, I wish it was different. She said, I'm black and I want black people to do better. She said, but our law firm comes in and cleans up the mess that you did not deal with during life. And what happens is a big chunk of your generational wealth goes into our pocket because you did not have a plan. The singer Prince, as brilliant as he was, you know, he gave about almost $100 million, from what I understand, to the wealth of other families, to the accountants, to the lawyers, to the you know, the people that were appointed by the court. They made $100 million off that man, right? And I doubt that he made all those songs and did all that work so he could pay a bunch of strangers all that money. So that's generational wealth. $100 million is a lot of money. That somebody is going to be able to feed their great, great, great grandkids with that money because they have financial consciousness. They made a different plan. Their estate was intact. Do you understand? So really, this generational wealth gap is big, and the generational wealth transfer issue is not just a black issue. It's an issue for a lot of communities, but for black people, we have some unique challenges as well. Discriminatory housing, yes. Home values not going up or redlining and all that. That was massive when it came to a foreshore. Lending practices, yes. Banks. If I could, you know, if I was on Capitol Hill and testifying, I would say, yeah, you need to straighten your banks up, loan more money to black-owned businesses, allow every person that's black to go into these banks and get an interest-free loan to go buy a home. Let everybody go borrow $250,000 to 100,000, 200,000. And if you want me to, I'll even help you tell them what to do with that money when they get it to make sure that nobody wastes it or very few people do, and give them that. That would be a great form of reparations because that would lead to $1 trillion wealth transfer right there. Moving on. Education literacy gaps. This is where I get a little testy. It says here lower levels of formal financial education exposure, less familiarity with basic concepts of investing, risk return, portfolio diversification. Now, here's the thing. Stop pretending like access to knowledge is the issue. Stop that. That's a damn lie straight from the depths of hell, and y'all know it. Every single person in this country that has a cell phone has access to an entire university right there in their pocket. You got the greatest university in the history of the world right there in your pocket. You can learn anything that you want to learn and become an expert at it. What people don't have is the discipline and desire. I have every single morning got up. I have done 20. I really do have a whole PhD in finances. You'd be amazed how many people think that it's fake because I'm black, or they think I went to some 3-week program or something and got it. No, no, I went through hell to get this damn thing. It was really, really hard. I sat next to the smartest students from China and Russia and Europe and Africa and all around the world. It was a pain in my ass. Terrible, traumatic. And every day I've gotten up for 15 years and scream from the rooftops. Fundamentals of investing in a way that was so simple that a 5-year-old could understand. And you'd be amazed how many people just never were interested, just didn't listen. I remember I was on an urban radio station about 2007, 2008, and I was talking to a young lady who was the DJ of the show, and she was all into the hip hop and everything else and all that. Lil Wayne was real big at the time. That's what I remember. And I remember she was asking me, like, what do you want to talk about? And I remember I said something like, I said, yeah, I think that we should talk about Black wealth and African Americans and how we can build wealth for our kids and so. And I remember the minute I started talking about that stuff, she like her attention darted in another direction. She was like, this is boring. This is not interesting. Whatever, right? And it was so funny because I literally also heard her talk about her financial problems the same day. And I was sitting there saying, wow, like you're having all these financial problems because you're neglecting your own financial health. I don't know where she is now. I mean, she was in her 20s back then. She's probably older. I don't know. Maybe I hope she's doing well. But I just remember thinking, man, it is so interesting trying to talk about this issue to people that will be more likely to watch, a hip hop like a versus. Like if they watch it, like if you look at the number of people that were watching Cash Money against No Limit Records, and they were rapping and they were rapping, nigga this, nigga that. I like them both, right, by the way, because I know some of the people involved with that, and I have no disrespect, but I was like, wow, there was like over 200,000 people watching that, millions of people watched that. But if you had somebody in there really talking about the secrets to wealth economics and financial security, those numbers would drop off immediately. So one of the things that is an unpopular opinion is that you can't take full accountability for your own oppression, but you have to take some accountability for the continuation of your oppression. Like there's a point where we have to ask really hard questions like, why do some people work so hard to defend the use of the N word? Like you ever see that where somebody will really get mad? They'll really have a whole debate with you about why it's okay to use the N word. I'm not saying that you can't do it. I've heard a lot of people do it. I've done it. We've all done it. Well, a lot of us have done it. Some of you have never done it, but I have. I'd be a hypocrite if I said I didn't. But it's like, aren't there other words in the dictionary you can use? Aren't there other things you could stand on, like another hill to die on? Is that really the hill you're trying to die on? Especially when the minute a white man says it, you go berserk and you say, see, that's racism, that's racism. And where I come from, you teach people how to treat you. Why would I call you a name other than the name you call yourself? So if you call yourself Terry and all your friends call yourself Terry, your mom call you Terry, then I come up and see you. What am I gonna call you? Be like, hey, what's up, Terry? Don't you call me that. You racist. Come on, man. Come on, Terry. Get it right, Terry. Anyway, so lack of access to knowledge, that's bull crap. It's not true. So you notice I said bull crap. I didn't say bullshit. I want to say bullshit. Um, Sure, the public school system doesn't teach financial literacy, but that's not just so they can oppress black people. That's so they can oppress the American people. That's not oppression just for you. That's oppression for everybody. That's the capitalists making sure that you don't understand how to avoid the excess fees on your credit card. That's them making sure that you don't understand how to avoid the overdraft fees from your bank. That's so you don't understand that maybe it's better for you to be the boss than it is for you to be somebody's employee. Maybe that's so that you don't understand conscious spending, so you'll become a consumer, right? They need you to do that, right? So ultimately, lack of access to knowledge is nonsense. The best I can do is say, hey, I talk about finances every morning and it's free. You can bring your whole family. And so there are lots of people who still you can ask them for something for free and or offer something free and they still won't be interested, right? And then the reality though is that it's free, but it's not really free. You're paying a price. You're paying a price. You're not paying with money, but you're paying with time. You're paying with attention. So I always say you don't have to pay money, but you got to pay attention, right? And you're choosing to be here when you could be doing other things. You could be twerking. You could be you could be at the club. You could be eating ice cream right now. You could be watching Netflix. You could be asleep, but you choose to be here. So you are making an investment, and it's a really important one. And I want to commend you for that. So congratulations. All right. So the other things that they cite is access to product use gaps. So Black households have lower stock market participation. I mentioned that earlier. Less access to financial advisors, trusted sources of investing information. It's not that we have less access to good financial advisors. It's that people tend to be more distracted by bad financial advisors. So social media is the devil when it comes to Black economics because a lot of people will listen to someone because they sound good as opposed to listening to them because they really know what they're talking about. So you have a lot of people online that sound really good, that are really cool and trendy, and they become these influencers. And there's like a running joke among scholars about really bad financial advice that people get on TikTok, right? And so when you talk about that, and the bad financial advice that people get on TikTok, it's one of those things where we don't know how to really stop that other than by saying make sure that you do your due diligence. So you have more access to information, but more information is not always better because what you have is you have an increase in good information, you have an increase in bad information. And so that leads to a lot of investing mistakes. So I was just looking at some of the worst financial advice given on TikTok. So a few things that are listed here are you don't need an emergency fund, just use your credit card. Quit your job and start drop shipping tomorrow. You'll be rich in a month. Leverage all your debt. The rich never use their own money. That's not true, right? Debt is risk, debt is leverage. Doesn't mean you don't want to ever use it, but you have to use it carefully and strategically and know what you're getting into. The stock market's rigged, so keep all your money in cash. That's nonsense. Yes, it is rigged, but that's where the money's at. A lot of you made thousands of dollars this morning. I know that you did because a lot of you are investing very heavily and you're in the same market that we're swimming in the same swimming pool. And when in my swimming pool, the water rolls up real nice this morning. Anybody else? Can anybody else testify? I want people that are not investing yet to really see real responses here. Don't just give me a fake response. Did your portfolios go up this morning? Did you see some extra money this morning? How many of y'all made some money? Give me a yes in the chat if you did. I want to see all the people that made money today. All right. And for those who are not investing, I want you to look at how many yeses are in here. I want you to look at how many people are making money. They didn't work for this money. They didn't have to leave the house for this money. They didn't have to go get a job for this money. They're making money from companies that are run by people they will never meet, that have factories in places that they will never visit, that make products that they don't even know about, right? So never ever get into the false idea that making money requires you to get up and go to work every day. That is something that you do for survival. That's not something that you do to prosper. Okay. All right. So moving on. What else? What's some other goofy TikTok advice? Put everything into one meme coin. That's a big one. A lot of people will dump their money into it. So they'll hear from a friend, this meme coin is going to do really well, and it's 25 cents, and they'll put it. Now, here's the thing. It's not so bad if you put a little bit in there just for fun. Just get a little taste, have some fun. It's okay. But when you get to the point where you say, I'm dumping all my money into this one asset, you're violating one of the most fundamental rules of investing. You must diversify. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. That's how people lose everything. Anytime you hear an athlete or somebody say, I lost it all from my investment advisor, that means either A, their investment advisor just went in the account and just took all the money, or B, they put all their money into one or two investments and those investments went south. So keep that in mind. Here's some other ones. Let's see here. Renting is throwing money away, and so buy a house no matter what. That's not true. I think home ownership is better than renting in many cases, but not every case. There are many ways you can actually be a renter and still do well financially. You just have to have some sort of vehicle that's building wealth for you. And if it's not your house, it has to be something else. What else? Um, let's see here. Student loans will be forgiven soon, so don't bother paying. Just copy my trades. I turned $100 into $100,000 overnight. You can write off everything on your taxes, just call it all a business expense, and skip your 401k. You'll get higher returns in crypto. So that's some of the crazy advice that you might get on TikTok. And a lot of Gen Zs are listening to this, and they think that we're old and stupid because it hasn't gone bad for them yet. But when it does go bad, then they'll be back on TikTok crying about how the game is rigged, life is unfair, and this horrible thing happened to me, and there was nothing I could do to prevent it. When no, there was something you could do to prevent it. That's called diversification. It's called intelligent investing. It's called investigate before you invest. If you do that, do your due diligence. Don't put all your eggs in one basket, then you're going to be okay. All right. So this is some of the so the big thing to walk away with today is I don't want you to think about black investing from any kind of a deficit model. There's nothing wrong with you. Your condition, sure, your condition's a little bit challenged, but just know that that the pathway for you to build the wealth is right there. You control that destiny. Your day-to-day choices make a big difference. And so, like I said, I mean, maybe if you have some extra dollars sitting around, today might be a good day to go in and pick up a couple of stocks or something like that. If you want to know my belief about sort of movements in the market longer term, this AI thing is going to be really massive, but it could be a bubble. And the AI bubble could actually burst. And if it does burst, though, that doesn't mean the bubble ain't going to keep on bubbling, though. AI is here. AI is going to be massive. And remember, the goal is to know AI and to own AI. So you know it, you know how to use it, know how to use all the tools, but then also you own it. You own the companies that are going to make money from AI. You own the Amazon, you own the Microsoft, you own the Google, you own the Meta. And if you do that, then what's the word? The word, type in the chat. So when you know it and you own it, that means that you've what? What's the word? We've known AI. Good. I want you to know it and I want you to own it. If you do that, then you will be in good shape. And somebody put the word options. Yes, that's another word too. That's another good one. But yeah, you've known AI. And that's what I want you guys to do because this wave is here. It's not coming, it's already here. And AI is already taken away a lot of these jobs. I don't know why the data doesn't always show it directly, but it is. And it's only going to get crazier because they're building the robots now and that's going to just be wild. All right. My wife and I were trying to take a we drove through Atlanta the other day and we saw a bunch of these driverless cars, these Waymos. It was crazy. Like I saw three of them. I went to Dr. George Frazier's conference, and on the way there, we saw three Waymos and three cars driving through Atlanta with no driver. So we tried to get one, and to get it, you got to use the Uber app, but you can't like say I want a Waymo. You have to put a preference, hit a preference that says I want to increase the likelihood that I get a Waymo. So there's no guarantee that you'll get one, but it's like I guess a lottery thing. But I can't wait. It's kind of cool because the studies actually show that the driverless cars are safer than humans. Actually, they're better. We just make a big deal when one car crashes and something bad happens, but humans crash cars hundreds of times a day, right? So if one Waymo has one crash a month, I take that over like 100 or 200 or 500 crashes a day from humans all across the country. Humans can't drive worth a damn. So there will be a future one day where your grandkids won't even know what it means to drive your own car. They'll just have a car and hop in it, and the car will drive them places. That'll be the world we'll live in. Same thing with trucks and all that stuff. Transportation is going to get transformed in a lot of ways. All right, guys. So was Waymo a stock? No, it's owned by Google. And Google, like I said, Google's one of my favorite stocks to own. I like Google a lot. This is not investing advice, but I am heavily invested in Google, and I'm increasing my investment probably today. I like Google that much. I think long term, I think this company is just going to be a miraculous economic engine, and they're going to really be on top of AI. So anyway, if you want to join us for Stock Market Tuesdays, we're going to meet tomorrow afternoon, and you can come ask me questions. And also, the Stock Market Analyzer is installed for you guys now. So if you're in Prime or Stock Market program, you can go in the analyzer, put in the stock. It'll give you a breakdown and a recommendation. It's been trained on my brain in terms of the things that I believe and think about when it comes to stock market investing as well. So you can put in any stock and decide if you want to add it to your portfolio. The link is there in the chat, and that'll take 70% off the annual fee. So if you want to go annual, it drops the annual fee from $9.99 down to $2.99 per year. And also you get to join us for Stock Market Tuesdays as well. And you can leave me questions and ask me questions, and we can talk about whatever you want. All right, so have a good day, everybody. God bless you. It's great to see you, and I will see you all maybe tomorrow morning, maybe not. I may have to cancel because I got to fly tomorrow.